There's no one watching this, but I'm waiting for my friend May to log on, and we are going live today. My name is CJ Reynolds. I am from the YouTube channel Real Rap with the Reynolds, and I'm a teacher in West Philadelphia. And today, Miss May and I are going to answer any of your questions about teaching, about life, about magic tricks and boats. We don't really know anything about, I don't know anything about that, but people are watching me. I don't know who they are. Thank you so much. I'm waiting for my my friend Miss May to show up. Can you answer text messages that you might send me? So yeah, we're trying this new thing. Mark Darden's on there, Sour Patch Kid, and Brendan. And so the idea here is that myself and Miss May both have YouTube channels. And what we're trying to do is create a live chat between us and people that might be watching our stuff on YouTube and be able to answer questions in real time instead of like you just being able to comment and us not being able to get back to you. And so that's the idea behind this. Good morning. Shout out to Amir. Amir, are you on your mom's account right now or something? Jacinda's on there. Kate the Sleepy Teacher's here. Yay. She got up very early to be here because she is all the way in California. So it's 7 a.m. there. Good for you. Waking up on morning at 7 a.m. She might get in bed. So yeah, so we'll answer any questions that you have about teaching or anything else that you're thinking about. And that'll be kind of where we're going. You set an alarm, Kate? Excellent, excellent. Jacinda's applauding me. And so this is so funny. I'm really so I'm so out of touch with this platform. Like I'm learning because I watch Kate the Sleepy Teacher and she goes on here and does like marathon live feeds all the time, which are amazing. Isaac, thanks Isaac. And Miss McTeacher from the UK. I'll tell you what, like while I'm waiting for Miss May to show up, number one, the people that you get in touch with via the internet, right? So like it's the World Wide Web, but I think we forget about that a lot of times, right? Like you think you're just like on Facebook and it's your friends, or Instagram and it's your family or something like that. But to be able to actually like connect with people that are all over the world, like the fact that Miss McTeacher on here, or people from, I got an email from Brazil the other day. Someone emailed me from the Philippines asking me for teacher advice and lesson planning ideas for something they were doing. And it's unbelievable, man. It's like, it just is not lost on me. It's incredible. Can you text her and see if we're good? So yeah, because I'm so pumped for her to show up. Taj is on YouTube right now. Taj is a student of mine that we talk mainly about The Walking Dead. We have Walking Dead meetings every Monday, so I have to make sure that I watch it on Sunday night. Otherwise, Taj gets very upset. There's about 6 to 10 of us that meet every Monday morning, and we talk about our theories, what we liked the previous night, what we didn't like the previous night, and it gets real. We love it. So as I'm waiting for her,
I guess she's having difficulty.
I feel like I'm waiting downstairs at someone's house and they're getting ready upstairs, and I have to like talk to their dad for a minute while I'm waiting for them to show up, which is kind of funny. So let me start with this then. Isaac said, "I through Gary Vaynerchuk. I was just curious if you have heard back from him about when you're going to take your kids out there." Yes, I have. Here's one Fab Teacher's trying now, Miss May. So Isaac, I did. I talked to Tyler last week, and we had a phone call, and he was getting Gary into a meeting, and so he had to call me back, and I was waiting for that, and then it's going to happen the last week of May. We're going up. I have 9 students. And then I have my co-teacher teaches in class with me is going to come with me. So my idea here is that I'm going to kind of like make sure we don't lose the kid, that they don't wander off somewhere. And then my wife is going to come also as sort of my D-Rock to film the whole thing, so that I don't have to worry about filming, that I can just be there and be with the students and kind of take that all in, and then they will, so what it's going to look like is we'll go up to VaynerMedia, which I'm like, I'm so pumped about this because, like, you know, Isaac, if you watch the videos like I do, like I watch the Daily V every day, and so to go to VaynerMedia anyway and like meet all of these guys that you see every single day, from Tyler to else that's always on the show, take a tour of VaynerMedia, then they're going to do lunch with us, and then we get to meet with Gary for an hour, which is a long time. You don't see people meet with him very often for a long time. Can I?
Hey, guest her in, I guess.
Hold on one second. I'm just trying to guest Miss May in. I'm trying to see. Could you turn the volume down on that? 1 second. And I want to. I'm trying to get you in here, Fab. Kate, am I doing something wrong? You would know. You're like the professional here on you now, where I'm trying to make Miss Fab a guest on the show, and so I'm trying to. Hold on. Thank you for bearing with me, everyone. I'm how do I? So you can't do that while you're broadcasting. There's that.
You did it before.
I did it before, where I was able to just click on her.
Click her name.
And click her name. Okay.
Kate said.
Kate, I'm clicking her name, and it doesn't look like it's giving me an option.
Or her profile?
I click on her name, and a box pops up, and then
click on her profile. A friend?
What is the blue button, Kate? So, I'm watching all these questions go by. I promise you I'm going to answer any question that you throw up there. And why is this? Fab, I'm trying here. So, and I'm like the worst multitasker that you've ever met in your life. Kate is saying, go to the guest queue. Oh, hold on. There's one. All right. So, Kate, I see you in the guest queue, but I don't see her. I don't see Miss May in the guest queue.
How does she get into the guest queue?
How does she get into the guest queue? How's that? How do I make that happen? Jacinda said the guest guy, click it. I love that Jacinda, my 11-year-old niece, knows what to do. Kate said guest me in and I'll tell you. So we're going to guest Kate in real quick and figure out how to do this. Kate.
Okay, so yeah, I just woke up. Okay. So, Miss May, what you got to do is, if you're on your iPad, there's like, is this still working?
Yeah, I see you.
The little guy at the bottom on the iPad with it's like a little smiley face. It looks like a camera. You just got to click that. Are you guys on an iPad?
I'm on my Mac. I'm on a computer.
She just said okay.
She
so
said
usually if you just okay, so Fab, if you okay, yeah, she just snapped a photo and sent it. So now go back into your guest queue and her name should be there.
Okay. It says there are no guests. Um,
Try clicking like her username.
Okay.
And it'll usually say, "Do you want to guest?"
Oh, no.
No, it doesn't. It just says she's from the U.S. This profile does not have a description.
Friends. Go back into guest.
Huh.
See if you
Let me see if I'm good. I'll look in guest again. Just check
Yeah,
this.
or maybe try refreshing, because that's how I always guest people.
Well, it works because it worked with her.
So you mean refreshing, meaning what would I like refresh the
know.
entire page?
Like for me, when I go on, all I have to do is just click your name. Like I just click on your name and it says guest, and then it'll send it through. Or usually somebody goes to like the little box. If she's on her
Here it is.
iPhone, it should work.
It just popped up.
I think this is gonna work. Did I just trade people? I'm sorry, Kate. I think I just cut you off. Is it working? It did. It worked. Fantastic.
Yes, yes. Mwah to Kate.
How are you?
Kate, mwah. Miss Reynolds, mwah.
It worked.
What's up,
I'm so
Mama?
excited.
My palms were sweating. I was like, no, please work. Like they're literally sweating. Like I have to wipe my face.
I felt like I was picking you up and I was sitting with your dad like awkwardly in the living room waiting for you to show up. That's what it felt like.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm here. Oh my goodness. I was getting so nervous. I said, now this worked before. What is going on?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so pumped to be starting out my day like this. There's a lot of
right? I was so excited too, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. I have a great day planned.
Everybody on the live. Sorry,
yes.
This May is late.
That's so I don't know what everything that pops up on the bottom of the screen here is.
Okay.
But it looks great. Thank you, Mark, for clapping for us.
Yay, thank you, Mark.
Mark is one of my students. He's to Costa Rica with me, and he was the one that you commented on yesterday that you said he had a very nice smile. And
he had the cutest smile.
He's a good dude.
He seems like a good dude.
So do you want to start out by like just telling people like we could give a little insight into who we are and what our story is?
Sure. You want to go ahead? Go ahead.
You can go first. Oh, you want?
Go ahead, Reynolds.
Look, I'll talk about myself all day. I have no problem.
Go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
For those of you that don't know, my name is CJ Reynolds. I'm a teacher. I teach 9th grade English, and I teach an elective called History of Hip Hop at a school in West Philadelphia. And I started a YouTube channel about 3 months ago called Real Rap with the Reynolds. And so, I had started a YouTube channel last summer where my family and I were doing like family videos. And then when my son's interest kind of waned from that, I started doing teacher tip videos because it's like one of the greatest honors of my life to be a teacher. And so I just remember like when I started teaching that there was nothing online. There were no other teachers doing this stuff or putting anything out that I thought applied to who I was. And so I thought would just make videos that I wished when I had started teaching. And so I've gotten a lot of really great feedback on it. It's been really, really fun. And then I get to meet all these other great people like Miss May and the Sleepy Teacher and all these other characters that exist on YouTube. So it's cool. So in short, that's my deal. What about you, Miss May?
Well, I'm Miss May. I've been teaching for 14 years. I teach in Houston, Texas. I'm currently teaching. I did the beginning of my career. I taught 3rd grade for 5 years, and I became very exhausted with the state testing. So I asked my principal for a change. I loved 3rd grade, but I disliked the state testing. And so she granted me 1st grade, which I've been in ever since, and I absolutely love it. I would love to teach kindergarten someday, but if I don't, it's all good. I love first grade. I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa. I moved here to Texas 15 years ago and been a Texan ever since. Love what I do. I started YouTube about a year ago. I had an account for a very long time, but I really started getting into videos last summer. But I wasn't very consistent, and I really just started becoming consistent about 6 months ago. And like the Reynolds said, I've met some fabulous teachers on here, like Kate, the sleepy teacher, of course Reynolds, my fave, a classroom diva. Just met a lot of good teachers out there and getting a lot of inspiration, because even though like Reynolds and I have taught for a while, you can still get inspiration from other teachers, whether they're a first year teacher or a vet teacher. So absolutely love it. Yeah. So that's my story.
Yeah. That's great. So I wanted to ask you, kind of what is your, so like we had texted a little bit before this, so this isn't
right
at the moment.
What Hold is on, Reynolds? The Netherlands is here. Whoa.
Wow.
Jakes, bro. Wow.
The World Wide Web is real. It's really,
it is.
Someone here is from the UK, or they said, it just, thanks so much for people that are just showing up.
Thank you.
So Jake is from the Netherlands, came via the Gary video. Yes, I am. So I do want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to first just ask you, what was my question exactly? Now I'm forgetting. What was my second question that I had? My wife is sitting next to me, as usual, helping me figure things out. So what's why teaching for you? Like, what's something that like either keeps you in the classroom, or what do you love about it? What's just so people can kind of maybe get a sense of like who we are and why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay. What really keeps me in the classroom is the happiness of the kiddos. Like, if people have followed my channel or my blog and know me, know that my classroom truly runs on happiness, laughter, and kindness. And what keeps me going is knowing that every morning when those kids walk in my room, they want to be in my room. Or when they leave at the end of the day, they don't want to leave my room. Excuse me. That's what keeps me going every single day. That's the reason why I do it. I want kids to know that when they come to school, they have to learn, and we are going to learn, and I have high expectations. But while doing that, school can be fun, and we can have a good time while we're doing all those things. But that's what really keeps me going, is how happy the kids are every single day.
Yeah, I agree. So I think one of my favorite things, and I don't think I thought of this, because I don't think college really prepares you for like how to build relationships with students. It's kind of like it's kind of like sitting in a classroom and they're like showing you videos and you're taking notes on it, and then finally throw you into a pool and you've never actually swam before. And so that's what teaching feels like to me a lot. And so, but one of my favorite things that I didn't know was going to be that was building relationships with students, and how that solves 1,000 problems like right off the bat.
You are preaching. So, yes.
So like so I got a letter yesterday. I got a lot of letters this week. There's a teacher at my school, Miss Maloney, who has the kids write like teacher appreciation notes to other teachers. And so I get one yesterday from a student that I did not know even liked me. And it was 2 pages long. It was really, really nice. Sometimes I kind of feel like you're my best friend, or I like when you talk to me for real, like not like other people have talked to me before, and just 100 nice things. And I just thought, the funny thing is you just don't always know what your impact is. And although I'm always trying to create relationships, those are the things that, like, to make a kid's better, just by talking to them, just by making your room a place where they feel comfortable, that they love showing up to every day, that no one wants to ever be in school in high school, but they never want to leave at the end of the day either. They just stay forever and sit on my couch and talk to me and ask me what I'm doing tonight. What are you having for dinner? Are you and Brody doing anything tonight? Are you and Marley doing anything tonight? And so those are, that's what kind of keeps me around, is it's amazing. It's amazing.
Reynolds, and that's why I'm glad I found you, man, because it's just so awesome to hear that coming from a high school teacher, especially in West Philadelphia. You know what I mean? Your passion just shines through. And when I started watching your videos, I can remember I caught one video, and then it was when you and the fam were going to vote. And I just started binge watching your videos, and then just seeing you interact. I loved it. I loved it. And ever since that video, I said, I have to see what this guy is about. And I am so glad I did, because I just fell in love with how you are with those boys and your passion and your drive. And like you said, a lot of people want these like magic fixes for classroom behavior. And it's really not what it is. It's just building a relationship with those kiddos, having lunch with them, talking to them, getting to know them besides just the content. Like that fixes like 99.9 of your issues if you build those relationships. So that just speaks volumes, and I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. So actually, Teacher said, King will be battle with the amount of content in the curriculum and the obsession with testing. How does America compare? We love testing. It's like the number one thing to do. And so
exactly.
And it's so funny. I'm lucky to be at a school where our principal doesn't. He realizes testing is something we have to do. Like, we don't get to opt out of it, especially state testing. And so, but he doesn't have us put emphasis on that. Like, we don't teach to the test. And that's really freeing, because one, I'm not going to do that anyway. So it's nice to just be back on something that you already decided was going to be the situation, because a lot of my students have much bigger problems than are they going to pass the state test, or even what their grade is. And so, I just think, I just relationships, like you said, fix 99% of the problems. Like, if a kid doesn't believe in himself, he's not going to learn no matter what your lesson is. I don't care how amazing it is or how much time you put into it. But if your teaching focuses on who the student is and not on what you want to do that you think is cool, then you're better for it. Like, it has to be about the kids, and then you can still have fun and still do cool stuff, but like, the focus has to be on the student and not on like whether or not you're cool or doing a good job or something like that.
Right. I totally agree. And I think the principal does make a difference in the whole testing situation, because that's exactly how my principal is. She's not about teaching to the test. She just wants kids to be happy. That's her number one thing, and to learn. And so that's why it makes it very easy to work in my environment too, because I think based on your principal, that can make a big impact, big difference. And when a principal isn't just worried about scores, it takes a little bit of that pressure off. Just a little bit, not a whole lot, but it does take a little pressure off.
So what would you say? What would you suggest to people who don't have that situation? People that don't have that support, and their school is all about testing and is more content driven than relation driven.
My advice would be, one, to surround yourself around other teachers that are like you, and you support each other and help each other out. My other advice would be, find support online. There's, so many blogs out there, so many YouTubers out there where you can get support from. Sometimes, we have to be the one to step up and take a stand and fight for what is right. And I just suggest you just rally yourself around people in your building, because I know everybody in your building is not test driven,
Yes.
and just, just get that support system, because it does help a lot when you have a support system. That's for sure. Don't be by yourself or alone, because you can't do this alone. You definitely need a good, solid team around you to do this, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So I made a really quick video yesterday, just as I was thinking about that sort of idea, where every teacher movie ever is about one person that went in and like changed everything, and it's never about building relationships with teachers, and that's completely crucial. And so I eat lunch with my friends every day from school. I invite them over to my house. If someone's new to the school, I make sure that I invite them out for drinks or to go to lunch, to just make that connection, because you don't want to do it by yourself. It's not even fun to do it by yourself. Like,
no, it's not.
Much more fun to share experiences with someone. It's like I'd rather like dance with someone than just dance by myself. Just completely frightening anyway to watch me dance. But I just think that that's so important. And my other,
I do too.
The other thing I thought of is sometimes when you don't have support. When I taught in Camden, New Jersey, which is where I taught before this, I was never allowed to take class trips. They never supported. I got free class trips from all over the place, and they would cancel them sometimes like the morning of the trip, because they just decided that we couldn't go that day. So what we started doing, and this doesn't exactly pertain to testing, but you'll see my connection here. I started telling kids, I'm going somewhere tonight. I'm going to be at the train at 7 o'clock. If you show up at the train at 7 o'clock and I show up at the train at 7 o'clock, and we get on the same train and go to the same place, I didn't really take you anywhere. We just kind of ended up at the same place. And, I once had about 50 to 60 students show up at the train in New Jersey, take the train to Philadelphia, and we walked to go to a poetry show that the kids still talk about today.
Wow.
And I didn't have times. You can you're creative. You can figure out ways around some of those rules. Because sometimes it's a little easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. And I think
that's true.
If you have teachers that are around you and that are excited about doing, it just makes it much easier. What was that question, Jenny? Someone had a question that pertained to this. Oh, here it is. So Sean, I apologize because I'm terrible with names. This is why every student has a nickname in my school, because I'm terrible with Chandra Samara said, I'm a SPED/RE specialist. I would love your input on how to collaborate with exceptional learners.
Collaborate with, how we collaborate with what?
With exceptional learners. So if we're not completely right, Chandra, you can type in again, and I'd love to hear
further explain.
To further explain. So if we're going off topic, but do you have co-taught classes in your school, or what do you do with students?
Hold on, Reynolds is fuzzing in and out. Hold on.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay. Say it one more time.
So I'm wondering, do you have are your students that are considered special ed or that have learning disabilities, are they in the same classroom with all of the other kids? Are they separated?
Yeah,
how do you work?
Yeah, we try to keep our kiddos in the most least restrictive environment. And they have, a para or an aide that comes in, a resource teacher that may come in, SPED teacher that comes in to kind of, say, for instance, if they have a struggle in reading, then they may come in for 30 minutes of our reading time and just give support, not only to them, but to everybody in the classroom. But we try to keep most of it's not like we have this special education room where all the SPED kids go and that's where they go all day long. We really try to put our kiddos in the most least restrictive environment. So we do spread them out within the grade levels, whatever grade they may be in, and they're in the classroom and, they do the same things that we do, just maybe modified. We have those accommodations, of course, but we really try to keep them in the most least restrictive environment.
That's the idea that we go with at my school anyway. funding in Philadelphia has gotten cut so much in the last few years. Like
Yeah.
teachers haven't had in like 5 years or something like that.
Wow.
And so it's tough to find the right funding for the right thing. So one of the things that I'm trying to do next year is create. So I asked to teach all of the students that are how do I put this? Because they're not necessarily like learning disability students, but they will be included. So everyone that has the greatest challenge in the 9th and 10th grade, I want to teach them in a room for 2 years, 9th and 10th grade, so that I can help them and map that growth out the whole time. And so I'm doing this with a teacher that I have in my room with me, who's a special ed teacher who's trained in special education, and Miss Yonkers, who's like
she's a doll.
She's
a doll.
amazing, right? So, and one of the things that we'll do is like be able to map kids' growth through those 2 years, and even without that funding. So one of the things teachers that you have to do all the time is like make something from nothing. So we're going to take something that doesn't exist yet, and we're just going to create it so that we can give the kids like maximize their learning capabilities and not lose anything on the front end of next year. So what I mean by that is, I don't want them to have to get used to another English teacher in the beginning of 10th grade. They'll already know us. They already know the deal. They know the procedures, and we can just jump right back in and just start killing it from September all the way till June instead of like figuring out each other out. And
that's awesome. I like that. So it's kind of like what we call looping, where you take your class, like if I took my first graders and then I had my first graders and then I take them on to second. We call that looping here.
Okay.
I like that. So then you don't have to establish these new getting to know you strategies and all this and that. You can just jump right in. I like that a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the plan for next year. So my friend Dustin, who is a teacher, he came in mid-year last year in Florida, and now he's finishing his first full year. Has a great YouTube channel.
Dustin?
Yes, he asked, what is
Discipling recovery.
Oh, so his YouTube channel is Discipling Recovery, and he's awesome. We're going to do a collab this summer. I'm going to drive down to Florida when school's done and do a collab.
Yay!
He's asking, what is your discipline policy? So how do you handle discipline in your classroom or in school? Or is what you do in class the same exact thing that the school would advise?
How do I handle discipline? So this one's always, I'm not going to lie, Reynolds. This one is always a tricky one because I handle discipline with natural consequences. I don't have a clip system. I don't have a pull your card system. If a child is like, so let's say, for example, if I have a student who, and this usually happens in the beginning of the year, they're testing you, and let's say I'm teaching and they're talking while I'm teaching. So I'll just stop, I'll just stop and say, okay, so there's some friends here that are talking right now. I'm assuming they know what to teach. So I'm going to let them teach you. And I don't call out who it is. And I just sit there. Well, actually, I get up and then I move to the side and I just sit there and I say, okay, you can go ahead and teach whoever was talking because I'm assuming you know what's going on. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to go up there. I don't want to go up there. And literally that fixes that problem instantly. So then like in the middle of the year, if I have that going on, because what you do, no classroom is perfect, I'll just sit there and wait. I'll just sit and wait. And then usually it stops that instantly because they don't want to go up there and try to teach the lesson. They don't want to do that. I'm really a big fan of love and logic, and I just believe in natural consequences. If a child, I'm not a fan of homework, but let's just say, for example, if a kid didn't turn in their homework, well, the natural consequence is before you go to recess, you're going to finish that homework before you can go out to recess. I'm not going to have you sit out for 10 minutes of recess or 20 minutes of recess. That's not going to fix the problem. What's going to fix the problem is they're doing the homework before recess or during their recess time before they can go out and play. I just don't believe that if a child is talking while I'm talking, go move your clip. I don't see how that is helping fix the problem of that child talking in the classroom or while you're talking. To me, I just don't believe that those types of things work. I just truly believe in natural consequences. So like if I have, I believe in getting down on their level and talking to them. I don't, call kids out in front of the whole class. I'll go up to that child, get to their level, and have a very stern conversation. But I don't have, as a school, we have this big PBIS positive behavior system that we use, and we have these things called Paw Bucks. And when kids are modeling behavior, showing pride, using self-control, we use those Paw Bucks to, shout them out. And with those bucks, later on in the month, they can buy things with those bucks. But
can you explain what that is a little bit? I'm not sure what Paw Bucks are.
So Paw Bucks are they're just like little bucks. I wish I had some here, but they're just like little bucks. And every teacher in the school carries them. And when we notice, not only in our own classrooms, but in, other classrooms, kids walking down the hallway, oh my gosh, look at that self-control. You are showing pride in this hallway right now. We give them a Paw Buck. And
Nice.
they really, really, really love that. And it works because the whole school uses it. So that's our discipline policy. That's how we promote positivity in the school. You can go in my school and not see one teacher with some kind of it's like, I just feel like those clip charts and stuff are such a negative thing. It's oh, well, so-and-so is on, it's like, oh, how would you feel if you go into a staff meeting and your principal says, Reynolds, move your clip down, May, move your clip down. And everybody's in the room looking at you like, oh, wow. How embarrassing is that?
My wife does that to me. My wife makes me move all the time. I don't, I deserve it. But,
Stop it.
So, yeah.
So that's kind of how I roll and how we kind of roll. Whatever comes about, I just use a natural consequence. I talk to the kiddo about it. That's my discipline policy. There's times where I have said, if something becomes too bad, I'll say, look, I guess we're gonna have to make a phone call. And so when the kids leave to go somewhere, we'll stay in that classroom. I'm like, okay, here you go. Make the call. I haven't had to do that very often, but I do, and it does work.
Yeah. I think, so I have, Dustin, I have 100 tips on this, but it really, really comes down to who you are and knowing who you are before you figure out like what's going to work for you, especially in high school, because in high school, like not all the things that they taught you in college are going to work, right? So like I would never put someone's name on the board. I'd never put a check next to someone's name on the board. But I do, so to give you like a couple of really quick examples of stuff that I do. One, relationships. So May, I've told you the story before where I had a student last year that would do no work.
Story.
He never did any work. He had his head down all the time. The co-teacher that I had last year was a first-year teacher, and he was belligerent with her all the time, would just tell her, like, leave me alone. Why are you even talking to me? Don't even look at me. Like, you're going to kick me out? Great, kick me out. And so one day, I got down on his level, also meaning like I always squat next to the kids, next to their desk. I never like stand over them and lord over them. So I said, here's the gig. You have detention with me for 1 week, and you have to eat lunch with me every single day in my room by yourself. And so that's what we did. But what he didn't expect was that on that Monday, my wife had made him lunch in a brown paper bag, and she wrote a little note to him inside, like she always writes to me, and then she wrote his name on the front. And when I gave that to him, my mom had done that same exact thing to me when I was in 10th grade. I had a kid that was bullying me, and I told my mom, and every day he would walk into my history class and punch my lunch, right? He would squish my lunch every single day. And so I told my mom about this. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this guy. Like, he's like 100 times bigger than me. He looks like someone's dad that's still in 10th grade. And so my mom made him a lunch. She wrote his name on the front, and she put a note inside. When I tell you, I never had a problem with that kid for the rest of high school, he never looked at me the wrong way. And I know my mom, and I know she didn't write anything threatening, but just that act of like letting someone know that you see them and that you care enough that like you made a lunch for me. And then we spent the week just talking about him. I talked very little about myself unless I felt like I could identify with something that he had gone through also, and said like, you know, I've been through something similar to that also, just to give him a point of connection. But that's my number one, is always relationships. And that doesn't always have to look that sort of extravagant, but it could just be pulling someone aside in the hallway and saying, hey, I noticed you were acting like this in class today. I'm wondering if anything's going on, or I'm wondering if I did anything to upset you. And what that does is it like puts it on you instead of on the kid. Instead of saying, you're doing something wrong, I don't like the way you were acting, it's instead like, maybe I messed up. Did I do something to upset you? And kids, that throws them off. And so I think other ways that I know for myself is humor. I use humor all the time. I get away with stuff that I cannot believe I get away with sometimes. I have a water pistol in my classroom, a small water pistol that I shoot kids with if they act up. The other day I put disappearing ink in it, which really, really made kids mad. It was hilarious. So I would just shoot kids with the water pistol. Are you talking? Are you talking while I'm talking? You're going to get shot with the water pistol. And like, I've told new teachers that before, and I had a guy one time that said, wait a minute, so you bring a gun into class? I'm like, you sound like I'm a terrorist. Like, no, it's a water pistol, and what it does is it shocks kids because they don't think you're going to handle a situation that way.
Yep.
I've never had a kid get mad. I've never had a parent phone call. My principal knows that I do this stuff. Like, it just, what it becomes is your thing that you do, and I know who I am, and I know I have a better sense, 11 years in, 12 years in, of who I am and what I can get away with. I don't know if I was a personal teacher, I would do that. But, all kinds of stuff. And I think for me, that silliness snaps kids out of their regular routine and makes them go, wait, what the heck just happened?
I know. It does. It does. It really does. It's okay to be silly in that classroom. That's for sure.
Yeah. And if you're not silly, if you're serious, then be serious. If you are no nonsense, that, whatever works for you, I think is key. And that's another thing I think they don't talk about too much in college is like they talk about kids being different types of learners, but not teachers being different types of teachers. And that's
no, they don't. And I think you can be any type of teacher that you are. You just have to make sure that you're respectful and kind, and you have that relationship with your students, because I think it's just not, you just have to be silly and just fun and all this all the time. You can still be stern and serious, but if you have that relationship, it makes a world of a difference. And I think that's why I feel like I can speak for both of us, why we don't have very many discipline problems. And I feel like that's why I don't have a type of a system, because I build those relationships with every single one of my kiddos, in that room, at least try to, and at least they know that I'm trying to. And I think that's what helps so much.
Yeah. My wife is writing me notes.
Okay.
Fun thing.
Hi, Miss Reynolds.
Hi.
What? I don't understand what you're asking.
Never mind.
No, I want to.
I was going to say, like, not talking about, like, how teachers talk bad about students.
I
think that goes into showing that.
Yeah.
Never mind if you can't.
I'm not sure. So.
Yeah.
My wife is talking about, for those of you that don't know, I tell my wife every single thing that happens pretty much every single day. So, so we have a lot of conversations on this stuff. And I think one of the things that, that makes making relationships with students really difficult is if you get caught up in like, teacher lounge conversations, like,
gosh,
like talking trash on kids, or like that, letting that be your place of venting. I always think go right to the source. I have a problem with a kid, I'm going to go right to him and talk to him about it. I have a problem with another teacher, I'm going to do the same exact thing. But going behind their back and just talking about it and letting that be my way of dealing with it, it can't happen, because it's just toxic. It's
very toxic. Oh gosh,
So
the teachers lounge is kind of, yeah, that's, I got blessed these last couple of years at my school that I'm at now, and we have the very last lunch. So I basically just eat with my teacher buddies that I teach with, and maybe a couple of other like pairs or something. So we don't have to worry about hearing all that teacher gibber. That jibber jabber drives me nuts. I'm not a fan of the teachers lounge, and if you do go, into the teachers lounge, try to make that a positive place, a peaceful place. I did a video on the teacher about the teachers lounge because you get many types of conversations that can go on in the teachers lounge that can be very annoying and very negative. So I
yes.
definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I do the same thing, and I kind of just instead invite people to my room to eat lunch, because then they get to eat with the kids also, and I think it gives them a chance to see the kids in another sort of environment than what they're
Right.
used to. Like they're just hanging out. Um, so
Someone said, this guy said that,
let me say real quick.
you know what the biggest, if he could stop teaching the kids that the world is round, it's flat.
Someone, is that a question? I don't know
I
what
don't
that
know.
is. Someone on YouTube said the secret is to stop teaching the children that the Earth is round; it's flat. And stop teaching our kids lies. Okay, I don't really know. Um,
All right.
Someone else said this is making me change my major and to become a teacher instead. Um, I'm sorry. There's like a ton of questions on here.
Yeah.
Understand what you teach them, Gio said.
So understand what you teach your kids. I don't know what that.
Tell them to explain.
So, Gio, could you explain that a little bit? Like you're saying to understand what you're teaching your kids. In terms of content, like are we not teaching students stuff that's actually useful or that's correct? So Chandra said, I'm at a turnaround school, so teaching is stressed. However, my leader is more concerned about leading with love, in quotes. That's a really great, I love that idea of leading with love.
Wow.
That's, yeah. I mean, at the
That's
end of the day,
She said testing is stress.
that's all there is. And I think that's, as a young teacher, I don't know if I would have been able to say stuff. Like I tell guys now all the time, I love them. 2 years ago, my New Year's resolution was become a better hugger, right? This is my literal, like this is why I went into school. They're like, "Well, do you have any-" So everyone talks to me. This is my impression of every single student I deal with is, yo,
okay.
Reynolds, you have a New Year's resolution? Because everyone looks like a grown man also, except for Mark. Mark is my child. And so I said, yeah, I want to be a better hugger. I said, I don't think, people in my family don't hug very well, and I want to hug like a grandmom. And so I just started hugging kids all the time, and they hate it, but I know that they love it at the same time. Like they can't stand when I hug them in the hallway, but they're just like, but now I have guys that come in every morning, walk into my room, and they want to hug before they go to class. And I think
That's amazing. That's amazing.
so. Someone said, Iris May said, what do you do when you don't agree with the school's curriculum? Do you have that issue at all, or?
Yeah, there's some things that I don't agree with, and I just kind of, I would just say kind of tweak it. We have what we call, there's, I know, most states have Common Core. We have what we call TEKS that we have to follow. And I figure as long as I'm following my TEKS and I'm teaching what I'm supposed to be teaching, I just kind of prepare my lessons how I feel best fit the need for my kiddos. I'm not quite sure if you're meaning curriculum as far as like the Common Core standards that you have. I know here in Texas we have TEKS. There's some things that I feel like might be a little bit too hard for our kiddos, but overall, I'm pretty fine with our curriculum. So I can't really say. I mean, if there's something like, because with my district, they give us like teacher notes where it kind of helps out if you're a brand new teacher and you it's basically kind of like a script for you. I don't do that because, I've been doing this for a while, but I see where it's helpful for, a brand new teacher. But if it's something like, if it's a book I don't really care for that they recommend, I don't use the book. If I think like something might be a little bit too hard, I might, just tweak it a little bit for the needs of my kiddos. That's how I roll with it.
Yeah, one of the great things that we get to do at my school is I can teach any books that I want. So every novel, we read 5 or 6 novels, depending on the class, a year. And I get to pick what those are. And that helps with a lot of that stuff. I don't really think, for me, it has too much to do with the curriculum as how it's conveyed. So I just try and make things as fun and as entertaining as I can. And I think if that's your focus, then you can kind of teach anything, and you can always sneak the things that you think are important in there anyway. So if I think there should be more of a focus on, I don't know, certain literary terms, or let's say that poetry is not something that my school wants me to spend a lot of time on, I always sneak tons of poetry in there. So I think there's just ways to like figure out how to get done what you think is important to get done also, while minimizing some of the things that maybe you shouldn't be spending so much time on.
Right.
So
this guy explained what he was saying. I missed it.
so I'm going to read this question to you, Miss May, because you might have a good answer to this. So,
okay.
So the gentleman that was speaking earlier, GeoShifter, said, yes, I agree. It's an amazing job, but I understand what you teach them. So I'm trying to find like where his answer is. Kids are awesome. Yeah, lots of teachers are repeating the things that they learned from books. And a lot of quote unquote science is based on assumptions and beliefs. What are you, when you really start to research these things yourself, you find that you will find the truth and what are lies.
So he says, for example, dinosaurs.
So for example, dinosaurs, and he wants them to understand facts and what is belief.
They come home with the wrong information.
So
he's
saying that sometimes students, like
his kids,
his students will come home with lies rather than like knowing what is actually, his children will come home with like things that aren't true that he thinks are being taught in schools. And what do you do about that?
His kids are 7 and 10.
His kids are 7 and 10. I think we might have different answers for this, but
well, I mean, if they strongly believe that, I would definitely, have a conversation with the teacher.
Yeah.
I see no problem with asking a teacher about content, and I just hold on. They keep saying, hold on, Reynolds, before I finish up. They're saying that you need to block somebody on here who's being very disrespectful.
Oh, okay.
Oh, who is it?
So
Kate,
it's JNDSIJ. It's just a bunch of letters, but being very racial and disrespectful. I already blocked him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you did.
But but Kate says you have to block him too.
Oh.
Click his name. Kate's like the master of you now.
She is. I love
flag.
it.
Block him. So click his name.
Okay. She already did. She already
you
blocked
have
it.
to block him too.
Oh, I do?
Yeah, you have to do it too, Reynolds.
Oh, click his name.
Yeah,
It's
click
telling
his
me
name.
he's not available anymore.
Oh, so
I guess
he's off.
I guess he's gone. We did
Okay,
it.
okay.
Yes.
So yeah. Anyway, but no, back to that question. I would say if that parent feels very strong about that, I would just definitely, I feel like parents should always go to the teacher first. It drives me crazy when I hear teacher friends say that, well, they went to the principal or they're going to call the principal. I hate that threat of I'm going to call the principal or talk to the principal. Just come to me and ask me. And I would highly suggest if that parent is feeling that way, I would definitely just have a sit-down conference or a phone conversation with that teacher and just kind of explain how you're feeling and let that teacher explain themselves. That's what I would suggest first.
Yeah. I think I would do the same exact thing. I've had a number of things that we talk about or that are sort of questionable topics. So one of the things that we do a lot in ninth grade is I try to get guys to figure out what their opinion is on a lot of different stuff. And because I think that a lot of times ninth graders aren't asked their opinions. I don't remember being asked my opinion very often when I was
Right.
15
Either.
years old. And I don't remember
Yeah.
having, I think a lot of what I thought was true was based on like what I'd been taught up to that point or what I'd been told up until that point. And so there are sort of controversial topics that come up. And so I always tell parents, like, I'm going to be very honest. These are some of the things that we talk about in class. I'm not trying to like push my viewpoint, but what I do want is for your boys to feel safe to be able to
Right.
talk about the things that are going on in their own minds. And sometimes that does spark conflict between two students in class, but I think that's really good to be able to like, we can spark conflict, but let's have the conversation and let's ride it out till the end and not just say, oh, we're not talking about that or that's off the table, because I want
Right.
them to feel completely safe to talk to me about things that they're wondering about. And
Right.
I think, but if anything ever came back to me, I would completely welcome a phone call from a parent or an email or a visit to the school
For sure.
to just sit down and talk about it. And if
Right.
it's something, because to be honest, and I want to speak right to that gentleman. I'm assuming it's a gentleman, even though I have no idea if it is or not. But I think teachers aren't always right. You need
No.
to step in sometimes and voice your opinion or voice your concern, because you have the power. They're your kids. We're just trying to help out. And so if
Right.
you have an idea, talk to the teacher and let them know, because otherwise everything we know about you is based on what your kids tell us, which like
Yeah.
is not going to be known by what my children say. I have a 7 and a 9-year-old. I would not want to be known by what they put out there about me.
Oh gosh.
So I'm looking. So I just want to put out there real quick. We're running at almost an hour now, which is
Okay.
fantastic, and it's really funny that it went that quickly.
That did go fast.
So I'm wondering if anyone had a question that I blew by, because I really want to make sure that if you have a question, like if you could just restate it, I'd love for us to be able to touch on that before we go. Iris May, I'm hoping you're having a class soon. I was just about to word. Could you figure out that, Jenny?
I can't. ask
Oh,
that
Darren
now.
took care of it. Darren's on here, who teaches 4th grade in California, and he has a great vlog on YouTube that has
Darren.
Darren, yes. Darren, whose last name I cannot pronounce correctly. But black and white picture on there. So, because I love you all so much, I'll sign another sign. It's uncontroversial.
Do you know, Kate? Do you know his, or Reynolds? You know Darren's actual YouTube? Is
I will
it just
send it.
Darren?
It's
Okay.
Darren. Darren, I'm going to ruin your last name right now.
Or just
His comments are on the side there. He has a black and white picture.
okay, there we go.
Tips
Okay,
on being silly. I want to be sillier. I'm a very serious person. Could you? Oh, he said it's pronounced. Darren, there's no way I'm getting that right. There's just not a chance.
Just try. I don't want to be really.
Nakakihara? Is that right? He's just laughing at me. Like, there's no, like, so.
He said perfect. Hey, Miss V. I see Miss V. Hey, Miss V.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna find Darren on YouTube.
Okay.
Today.
Could you talk about? So someone is asking how to be sillier in class, that they're a very serious person, and I loved your story about dancing in class the other week. Could you talk about that?
So basically, like I'm naturally just a happy-go-lucky person, and when I can tell like the class is feeling kind of down, or like just kind of over things, like I'll just stop in the middle of class and turn on some music, and I'll get up and I'll start dancing around the room, and then I'll get on my table and I'll start dancing. And so last week, I wanted my kids to dance on the table, and they looked at me as like, oh, Miss May, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna dance on the table. And so what I did is I just played some music, and since I teach in an open concept classroom, some of my kiddos were a little nervous because other kids from the other room could possibly see them. And I said, oh, don't worry about them. So I just moved the table forward a little bit, so they wouldn't feel as, nervous. And boy, I told those kiddos, I said, okay, everybody stand on your chair. And they all stood on their chair. Then I said, okay, on your table, turn that music up. And for about 1 minute, we just started grooving on the tables, and they absolutely loved it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I highly suggest as long as you're safe. And of course I explained to them, we got to be safe, we have to be careful. You talk to them as you're prepping them, but just go for it. Just don't be afraid to let loose, and just go for it. I think sometimes we get so scared of what others are going to think about us, our other colleagues, and who cares? Like, I'm one of those people, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care if people think I'm too free and too happy and I don't care about that. I do what works for Miss May. But I would definitely, if you're too serious, I would start off with maybe even not on your desk, but maybe just dance around the room a little bit. I play music all day long in my classroom, and I don't know, it's just something about music that keeps us happy and keeps us going. Just if you're too serious, play some music in your room. Start off by just playing music. During
Yeah.
writer's workshop time, or a moment where they're just working quietly, play a little soft jazz music. I play jazz, I play kids bop, I play all kinds of stuff in that room. Classical music. And the kids, they just love it. They love it. Just don't be and here's the thing, practice at home. Practice at home how
It's a
you would
really
want
good
to
point.
be in your classroom. I do that all the time. If I'm thinking of something that I want to do, practice at home. If you don't feel comfortable yet, or if you're feeling kind of, practice at home, and then bring it into your classroom.
Yeah, I agree. So my students always ask me if I act this way at home, and I'm like, oh, I'm like 100 times worse when I'm
I,
at home. But one of the things that I
God
love,
bless me.
yeah, my wife's saying, God bless me. So one of the things that is my favorite thing to do is someone once told me, and I don't, this might not even be true. Someone once told me that 90% of what you think about today is what you thought about yesterday, right? So like when you wake up, you kind of have your same routine, and your day has its same routine. And one of the things that I love to do is interrupt my students' daily routine. And so I'll do things like, I have a microphone that I bought at the dollar store that has bubbles inside of it. You pull it apart and the bubbles come out. And I spray paint it gold because, why not? And I ode to Prince. And so I interview kids in the hallway all the time. I ask them like, so what's it like to be late to class every single day? Or like, what's it like to
I
be
love that.
so tall? Or, what's it like to have someone that's as amazing of a teacher as Mr. Reynolds is? And so it just catches them off guard. And then other times during the day, I'll just blow bubbles in the hallway. And high school students do not want to like bubbles. They get like aggravated. They see them and they try and like squat at them really mad, like they don't want to get hit by them. But then they all end up smiling. I've never had a student that has not loved that I was blowing bubbles in the hallway. And it's really fun because then they look like kittens that are they're like these big kittens, like they're swatting at the bubbles, and it makes everyone's day better because no one expected to see bubbles in the hallway that day. And when class starts, it's it. I put it away, go in my class, do my thing, and then that's just what happens every once in a while. And so
Right.
I think little things like that you just, as soon as that idea pops in your head, like maybe I should do this, just do it. Because
Just
what's
do
the
it.
worst thing that can happen? At the end of the day, you're not going to catch on fire. You're not going
Right.
to get fired for blowing bubbles.
Right.
Someone might say, hey, the bubble thing, don't do that so much anymore. And then but someone might say, that's an awesome idea. You should do more of that.
Exactly. I so agree. Just do it.
Miss May, Chandra Samara is asking, do you use Paw Bucks with Classroom Dojo?
I don't do Classroom Dojo. Honestly, I don't. I did try Classroom Dojo a couple years ago, but it was a lot for me, so I just kind of gave up on it. But I would like to try a Classroom Dojo again, but I don't use Classroom Dojo, and I just use the Paw Bucks. So like if I'm in class, I have my Paw Bucks in a nice big lime green basket. And so if I notice a kiddo doing something awesome, I'll just say, Chloe, go grab 2 Paw Bucks, or, Kaden, go grab 5 Paw Bucks. I love the way, and I'll just compliment on something that they're doing. And then of course the rest of the class is like, oh my gosh, I need to get me some Paw Bucks. But I don't use Classroom Dojo. So really what I use is just lots of praise in my room, Paw Bucks. And that's really about it. I do Secret Student. But I just, I don't know how to say this, but I just kind of feel like I'm that teacher that just, I don't have a discipline type system, extra besides, building my relationships with my kiddos, the Paw Bucks.
Yeah.
And, praise. That's just really all I do.
Yeah. So this is a student of mine, Alonzo. Alonzo is asking, why do I give students nicknames all the time? I'd say about 85 to 90% of the students in my school have a nickname, and that is large. So Alonzo's nickname is Hugs. We call him Hugs, and he's a great kid. He's no nonsense. In the beginning of the year, I think he could not stand like my silliness. Like, just wasn't. He's like an old soul in a young man's body, and so he would just go.
Oh.
Every time I would do something silly, he would just look at me, and so I named him Hugs. Because I told him he looks like someone that loves hugs all the time. I'm like, you love getting hugs. So the kids can't. No, the funny thing is, if someone doesn't have a nickname, they want a nickname. But once they get it, I never give cool nicknames out, right? So some of my favorite guys are Cheesesteak and Dirt and the Ox and DJ Dirty Kev and who else is in there?
DJ Dirty Kev.
Yeah, DJ Dirty Kev is my homie. Shabazz, like all these just crazy nicknames that come out of nowhere.
Oh, Reynolds, you are so crazy.
But one of the reasons I do it, Hugs, is because it creates something that's just for you and I, right? That no one else, like I am creating a connection and a name that is just shared between you and I is 1. 2, I cannot remember kids' names. I'm so bad at it. And I hate when a kid comes in and I mispronounce their name like 3 times in a row and I look like I don't know any better. So just give you a new name. And it's hilarious. Like no one ever truly hates their nickname. I had a student that used to tell me he was the chosen one. He wanted to make his own nickname. It was TCO, the chosen one. And so I wrote it on the board and I said, TCO? That looks like more like taco to me. So we just called him Taco. For the next 4 years, his name was Taco. And the funny thing is, now when I see these kids out on the street after teaching for so long, I'll see someone out somewhere and I can't remember their real name. So it's like, hey, Cheesesteak, it's good to see you again. And so
I can so see, I can so see that working, especially with like the upper elementary kiddos. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
But I wonder how that would go about with like the younger kids.
Michelle Elliott said, I try nicknames, but the 2nd graders don't like that.
They don't understand.
Yeah, I think if I had started doing that before and it didn't work out, I would have changed it and did something else.
Right.
But that Mark Darden is saying, I forgot him. We call Mark Sour Patch Kid because he took
Mark the Sour
5-pound bag of Sour Patch Kids to Costa Rica. That was the entirety of Mark's carry-on bag to Costa Rica was 5 pounds of Sour Patch Kids and Swedish Fish and bubble tape. So
that Mark, man, he seems like such a sweetie pie.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a good helper in school. Yeah. So in closing out, is there anything else? I mean, we've been on here for an hour and 9 minutes. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything before you.
No, I just appreciate all the love and support from everybody out there, and of course, Reynolds, I appreciate you, and so glad that we connected. I feel like I have a friend for life now. But I just, my one thing for everyone out there who is watching this now live or who will be watching this later is just don't be afraid to build positive relationships with your students. I'm a firm believer in being kind to kids because we don't know what they go home to every day. We can assume that a kid who is dressed nice and looks fabulous on the outside, we're not so sure what's going on the inside. So I just ask that all of you just build those positive relationships with those kiddos, and I just appreciate all of you guys coming out, hanging out, and supporting Reynolds and myself. And I'll be seeing you guys again soon.
All right. Real quick, I too want to say just thanks for anyone that's watching. I mean, this is amazing. And it's super fun, and it's never lost on me the fact that like you're in Texas right now, and I'm in New Jersey, and we're like
I know.
each other in the computer with people all over the world. Like it's awesome.
It is awesome.
And so the last thing I would say is Iris May asked, "What do you do during parent-teacher conferences?" And I would like to answer that real quick because I think it's a great question, especially because we just had ours. I love parent-teacher conferences. Our conferences are finished at 8 o'clock. I sometimes don't leave school until 10 o'clock because I never want to rush a parent out because my children are, my son needs a lot of help in school. And so I always appreciate the time and the patience that the teachers give me. And I want to just have that courtesy for other parents because there's not a whole lot of dialogue other than that. I don't call home a lot because I want my guys to be young men and to start taking responsibility for their own actions and not just have to call mom. And I'd like to keep it between us. And that really helps me build relationships with students. But I think that conferences are really great. I'm gonna plug my channel right now because I have a video on this on what you should do for parents and how you should kind of handle them. And on my channel, Reynolds, it's just to kind of walk through like how you should address parents because sometimes parents come and I feel like a lot of parents like they want to just hear how either great their kid is or they just want you to cut to the chase and tell them what you did wrong. And it's like it's awesome. Like I have guys that I tell the parents, if my son grows up to be like your child, I would be real. That's how wonderful I think your kid is.
Oh.
And some parents are just like, yeah, I get it. What's going on though? What are they doing though? And I'm like, no, that's it. Like they're awesome.
Right.
Good job.
Right.
You did good work. You did good work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
She
means for the whole nickname thing though, like how do you address the parents with the kids and her nickname?
So that's really funny because parents always come in and I'll have students go home and tell my ridiculous stories that I tell my students. And they'll say, so my kid told me this. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, that's fun. Yeah. I think at my age, I own who I am so much that I'm rarely embarrassed anymore. Like I just don't do anything that's going to embarrass me because I've been a goofball for so long that I own it. I don't try and be cool. I don't try and I know I'm not right all the time. Mistakes. And so if a parent comes in or if they don't, so I had a student who wrote his last name wrong 2 different times in the beginning of the year. His name was Miles Wiggins with a W, and he wrote Liggins. And so we called him Liggins for the next 4 years. And the first time his mom came in, she said, "Do you call my son Liggins?" And I said, "Oh, you must be Mrs. Liggins. I'm so happy to meet you." And so he graduated, and I saw his mom
in Target
a year later in Target. She yells to me down the aisle, "Mr. Reynolds!" And I said, "I'm sorry, I forget who you are." And she said, "It's me, Mrs. Liggins." And I was like, success. So,
Oh man, but
It all
you
works
just
out.
left that imprint for life.
Yeah. That's
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So that's someone said, "What's the meaning of life?" I don't know that I have.
That's a troll.
I don't have long enough to talk about. Yeah, love for kids. So yeah, Fab. Thanks for coming on today. This has been
Well,
great.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Of course, we'll hook up and connect again. You and Mrs. Reynolds have a fab Saturday. Tell Marley and Brody Miss May says,
I will. I will.
give them hugs for me. Give them hugs for me. And to everybody out there, bye. And thank you so much. Love you, Reynolds.
Thank you so much for coming on, everyone. I really appreciate it so much. It's been great. Thanks, Fab. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, hon.
Bye. Going to end it now. Here it goes.